A really big highlight of the Battlegrounds genre is that there's a vast selection of games, all being based around different series. But sometimes a series can be so popular that multiple games come out being based off it, the most popular one being JJK with 4 games. But there is another series that has multiple Battleground games, and that series is called Mob Psycho. There are a total of 3 games: Psychic Showdown, Psychic Battlegrounds, and Spectre Scramble. All 3 of these games have really low player counts and are barely even covered on YouTube. So today, we're gonna look at these 3 games and explore the Mob Psycho side of Battleground games. Our first game is Psychic Showdown, the first Mob Psycho Battlegrounds game to come out. Having 175 active players, it looks like this game isn't really popping off as much as it used to. I mean, even looking at the thumbnail with Sakuna, I can tell this is going to be a great time. So loading into this, we can already see one big change compared to most games. The fact that there's 5 moves instead of 4. I haven't really seen a game with 5 moves, so that's unique. The map does look nice. I like the multiple buildings that surround the area, since seeing the exact same fucking forest is getting a little bit tiring. There's only 3 playable characters right now: Mob, Reagan, and Taruki. And the other 2, Dimple and Rio, are early access characters. An okay character selection. We never really seen Reagan in a Battlegrounds game, since all he does is like throw salt and other dumb shit that's not Mob's powers. The gameplay is a mix between the basic Battleground system and new stuff like 5 moves mentioned earlier and not having a traditional forward dash. You do a small dash instead of a dash punch, and in order to do a dash punch, you have to double tap the Q button. Characters like Mob and Taruki have to be in the air to dash punch, while Reagan needs to be on the ground. It really feels unnecessary having to double tap the Q button to dash punch, when in other games, pressing it once would dash punch. I don't know why it's even like that, to be honest. The combat in this game is not really that amazing. Some of it feels janky and unpolished. It really just feels like a punching simulator instead of actually trying to make combos. The movement is pretty slow. It really doesn't feel smooth when dashing or M1ing at all. And it's pretty boring moving like a snail for the entire fight. There are power-ups you can get that get stuff like no cooldown for 30 seconds or plus 50 health. I guess it's good for spicing up the gameplay a little bit, but honestly it's pretty overpowered. So honestly, gameplay wise, this game is pretty eh. The characters are okay to play. They have unique stuff like Taruki having a barrage of punches for his 3rd M1, and Reagan doing a semi-combo extender for an uppercut. I really don't know how to activate this, to be honest. The moves are pretty lackluster. They don't really have any depth to them at all, like variants and stuff, so comboing is just pretty basic and boring. The ultimates are okay. Mob's 100% ult moves are pretty cool. They're mostly grab moves that are chaotic, but the unknown percent is honestly better. You move slower, but you have teleport dashes, and the moves are way better than 100%. They're more cinematic and flashy, while also doing more damage than the other one. Reagan's 1000% moves are really goofy, of course. Some of his moves do a shit ton of damage, but really boring animation and effects. Like, look at this. How is this doing 50%? The only really cool move he has is the verbal smackdown, where you yap the enemy to death. Taruki's ultimate is the lamest ult in the game. You only have 2 moves, and they're not that cool at all. They mostly just do this like little small AoE, and that's it. The quality isn't the best. The effects do look nice, but the animation is pretty mid. Finishers are also lame. They don't feel impactful at all and are also lackluster. The quality is not really this game's strong suit, so yeah. There is a shop that allows you to buy cosmetics and emotes with the cash you earn by killing people. Overall, it's a pretty mid game. There's a lot of unique stuff in the game, but they're honestly not that good. And the gameplay is not that smooth or enjoyable. Really is just a game that stands out because it's based off of Mob Psycho. And it was the first one to come out, so let's see if the other games are better. The next game is Psychic Battlegrounds, a game that released after Psychic Showdown. The title does say early access, so I'm not really going to be expecting that much from it. First loading into the game, the map looks very similar to Psychic Showdown, but with more visibility due to less buildings. It's more in the traditional Battleground style, unlike the last one, but let's see if it's good. The gameplay is very similar to TSB, but a little bit less polished. Dashes work basically the same, but they go less farther. The M1s do feel better in this game than Psychic Showdown. They're way more smoother. Combos are actually pretty fun in this game. You can have some variety with them since some moves have variants, and most of them allow you to combo extend, so creating combos in this game is pretty simple. There isn't really any new mechanics or systems in this, unlike the other game. So yeah, that's it for gameplay. For characters, we only have Mob released and Rio as the early access character. Mob's moves are pretty good. They have a little bit more depth to them. Certain moves you have to hit while the enemy is standing still, so you can make some cool combos with that. And one move in particular, telekinesis, shoots out range projectiles, so that does give Mob a little bit more variety. The ultimates for mobs is just 100%, and it does actually have some pretty cool moves. A really cool move is Exorcism, where you Sigma walk to them and blast them away with your unbeatable Kaisenai Riz. God, that was painful to say. Holy shit. And Giga Telekinesis, where you pick up chunks of the buildings and throw it at people. It is actually really unique since it really hasn't been a Battlegrounds game that actually used the environment for their moves. But then again, most of the maps are forests or some form of an arena that doesn't have anything in it. There is a cinematic move where it actually recreates that guy, you know the one, the guy falling down, yeah. It's pretty cool. It does take a long time to actually finish, so definitely is one of those cinematic moves that you'll save for last. The quality is a little bit higher than the last one. The effects do look nice on every move, but the animation is pretty Doesn't really look that smooth, especially with grab moves or some ultimate moves. Most of the moves don't really have a unique finisher. The only one I've seen actually have one is Psychic Grab, where you crush them onto a ball, and that's really it. So in total, this is definitely an early access game, just like what the title said. It does have some potential. The fact that the environment does actually contribute to the moveset is really unique. It's just missing almost everything that a Battleground should have. The last Mob Psycho Battlegrounds game we're going to look at today is Spectre Scramble, or Spectre Battlegrounds as it was called before. The game itself released a bit after the first two, so let's see if this one surpasses them. Loading into the game, we see that the map looks more like the JJS map with the two big buildings and the others surrounding it. But I'm not gonna lie, I actually do like this map a little bit better. There's more actual buildings with stuff inside. And the game also has destruction physics much like JJS, but they're honestly not as good as JJS since barely any debris will appear when you actually destroy something. There's also other smaller stuff like soccer behind the school and cars around the map that you can drive. Already pretty cool, but we gotta see the gameplay, of course, you know, it's fucking... The gameplay for Spectre Scramble is unique but not smooth, something that all of these games have in common. There's mechanics like Rush, where after M1ing someone away, you're able to fly towards them. It does help out since your M1 sends people flying away. There's also other mechanics like air slamming, where you hold down R in the air and slam someone, and being able to use telekinesis to pick up objects around the map and throw it at people. You're also able to hold down the input for moves to enhance them. A really unique style of combat. It takes the Battlegrounds formula with the 4 moves and M1s and mix it with more mechanics that are really cool. Stuff like telekinesis is really unique since no other game has that type of system. But unfortunately, it's not as amazing as you would think. It's really janky and unsmooth. It feels like you do random stuff and it works. It just needs some more work on the combat part since it really feels janky. The character roster is pretty good. You got Mob, Taruki, and Ryo for the public, and Ishiguro as an early access character. This is the only game I've seen Ryo actually be complete and Ishiguro being the next character, so that's good. The moves pair kinda well with the combat and do have variants. Another thing that this game actually has is passives. The last 2 games didn't have any passives for the characters, so it's nice that this game has them. The ultimates in this game aren't that good. You don't have a full move set for the ultimate. It's only 2 unique moves for each character, and the other 2 moves are based on what emotion you pick. The emotion moves aren't that good at all, but the unique ult moves for the characters are way better, so I have no idea why the characters don't have all 4 unique ult moves. Some other small stuff is a daily quest where you can get currency for playing, and you can use this currency to buy cosmetics, kill effects, and block effects. I haven't seen a block or kill effect in a Battlegrounds game. Well, not a new one. In total, the game is actually kind of fun. It could be a really good game, it's just that it needs more polishing with the gameplay. So to conclude the selection of Battleground games, they're pretty mid, yeah. Psychic Showdown really suffers from lackluster moves and janky combat. Psychic Battlegrounds suffers from a lack of literally anything. The game is still in beta though, so I'm not really going to be criticizing it for that. The gameplay could be a little bit better with more smoother dashing and M1s. And Spectre Scramble suffers from, again, janky combat. It does stand out because of the destruction physics, especially since in the anime, the fights usually are cinematic and destructive. But yeah, that was the Mob Psycho side of Battleground games. Hopefully they get better. But right now, I gotta go plunder some treasures, so yeah, bye-bye.